Good morning. Welcome to the Deep 404. For those of you who follow the channel, you'll notice that I'm not in my normal home studio. I've actually got a couple of days away with my family and some friends near the beach, which is nice. Anyhow, I wanted to get a quick update out on the President Zelensky and General Zaluzhny topic. There have been a couple of interesting developments in the last 24 to 48 hours. Still no resolution to this topic. By resolution, I mean we haven't seen confirmation of General Zaluzhny being fired and being removed from his position, nor have we seen the flip side, confirmation of President Zelensky being moved out of his role. There have been some more interviews. Budanov, the head of the GRU, the Military Intelligence Directorate in Ukraine, has been raising his profile in the last couple of days. This is after reportedly his earlier rejection earlier this week of the role of a military commander. There are reports that was floated to him, suggested to him, and he declined to take that role. However, things can change. Also, General Zaluzhny, in a CNN interview, he has talked about what needs to be done for Ukraine to succeed and proceed in this conflict. He has given heavy emphasis to unmanned vehicles, aerial drones, sea drones, that type of thing, that these are something which Ukraine must focus on if they are to win. He's also said that Ukraine is going to have to deal with the fact that they are not going to have the level of Western support that they've had thus far. But what's interesting about his interview is that it isn't the interview of someone who is preparing to leave. He certainly didn't give that impression it's a written interview, it's not spoken, but written. He didn't give that impression. So it seems as though Zaluzhny is holding his ground, is not going to leave his role without a fight. And this, of course, leads to these ongoing questions of what will happen. Now, another interesting development in the last 24 hours is that Victoria Nuland has travelled back to Ukraine. She gave an outside speech in the evening where she talked about there being surprises coming for Vladimir Putin. One of those may have been the sinking of a Russian ship, which I'll speak about in a separate video just shortly. But Victoria Nuland really has been the conductor, I suppose, of Ukraine's trajectory over the last 10 years. She was involved in the coup, the Maidan coup that occurred, famously seen handing out cookies to demonstrators, and she has a deep interest in what is happening in Ukraine due to her family history. So she has been there, and while it's not been divulged what the exact purpose of her meeting or trip to Ukraine and Kiev was for, given that we haven't seen an immediate threat to President Zelensky's position, it seems as though she may have been there to solidify and lend weight to him remaining in his role. But interestingly, we also haven't seen the immediate firing of General Zaluzhny. So again, perhaps the Americans' position is that at this stage they would prefer there to be the status quo retained. They wouldn't like the apple cart to be upset too much by the firing of Zaluzhny. That in itself would cause disruption within Ukraine. The reason that President Zelensky wants to remove Zaluzhny, as reported by Ukrainian sources, is that he is jealous of his standing both publicly with the citizens of Ukraine and perhaps more importantly, his position within the military and how he is liked and supported in the military. Now, recent interviews in Ukraine have shown that something like 82% of those interviewed prefer and trust Zaluzhny, whereas only 62% of those interviewed prefer and trust Zelensky. So he sees him as a threat and would like to remove him. It looks as though perhaps Victoria Nuland has arrived on the scene to say, that's not what we want to happen right now. Don't fire him just yet. Maybe we need a little more time to make his successor look appealing. If it is Kirill Budanov, he's an interesting character. He doesn't have a military command background. He does have a military background in terms of special operations, was a special operations soldier, and has led the GRU, the military intelligence. Talk that he may be good for a position if Ukraine moves into an insurgency war and organising and coordinating those type of missions. Also, if President Zelensky is concerned about the military and the possibility of a military coup, if he were to replace Zaluzhny and put Budanov in, then Budanov could keep track through his military intelligence contacts on what is going on and inform President Zelensky if it is likely that a coup may occur and try to unseat him. So, but perhaps not ready for that just yet. And of course, the thing is, if he does fire Zaluzhny and Zaluzhny decides that he does not want to go, and at this stage, it's reportedly been at least twice now where Zelensky has sent aides to Zaluzhny to say, resign, and he has rejected that outright. So he's rejected his commanding officer and said, no, I'm not leaving, I'm doing a good job. There is the real possibility that an attempt to publicly fire him would result in a coup. Zaluzhny, obviously very powerful. He has very public disagreements with President Zelensky, and there is no way to say that he would not be interested in assuming the role. Now, he may not necessarily want to be president, but he may wish to retain a position of power. And the logical step forward in a situation such as this, where he is considered and is aware of the fact that the public and the military prefer him to the incumbent president, that it might make sense to perform a military coup and take that role. Again, the Americans will have a large say in what goes on here. If something happens which they don't like, they obviously have the ability to say, well, we will not pursue further support for you. Neither Zelensky nor Zaluzhny would want that. So perhaps both of these men at this stage have been told to just calm things down and keep things stable for a while. Perhaps we will see a change in the future, but as of today, we haven't seen any of those immediate moves. All right. I'm going to leave that one here. It's a little bit harder for me to record and show videos like I normally do. So today, in the next couple of days, these videos will probably be a little briefer than they normally are, which some of you may well appreciate. I hope you're having a good weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you again shortly.